away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. Take a look at some of the crazy things that are in the news, have a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. If you're listening somewhere else and you'd like to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. That's at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat, and you can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. As we get ready to jump off here, naturally, as always, I do read through as many of the comments in the comment section as is reasonable, and I'll go ahead and say hello to some of the people that have been able to chime in thus far. Helter has joined us today, as well as Brian, Dragon, Kimberly, and League of Smoke saying hello so far today. No felines in the room. No felines in the room. I'm without cats at the moment. One of them may wander in. You never know. You never know. But as we get ready to jump off here, top story of the day. And this is everywhere. This is everywhere. But I question it. I want to see some evidence. Newsweek article coming up here talking about FEMA in North Carolina. Armed militia are hunting FEMA, and it causes hurricane responders to evacuate, according to reports. Really? So here we go. Federal emergency response workers operating in Northern Carolina, Rutherford County, in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene were told to evacuate on Sunday over concerns that an armed militia was threatening workers in the area, or so it has been reported. An official with the U.S. Forest Service, which is supporting recovery efforts along with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, sent a message to numerous federal agencies at 1 p.m. on Saturday warning that FEMA has advised all federal responders in Rutherford County to stand down and evacuate the county immediately. National Guard troops have come across 2 trucks of armed militia saying they were out hunting FEMA. That's a quote. The email says the IMTs, or incident management teams, have been notified and are coordinating the evacuation of all assigned personnel in that county. The Post reported 2 federal officials had confirmed the email's authenticity, but it's not clear if the threat described was viewed as at all credible. An unnamed Forest Service official told the newspaper the personnel were moved to a, quote, safe area, and some work in the area was paused. They were back in place by Sunday afternoon. FEMA, the Forest Service, and the National Guard have been contacted for comment via email outside business hours. This article will be updated if a response is received. So the claim is, and this is all over the news, and wow, that's quite a mess alongside of that bridge, isn't it? That lake must be full of debris. That must be full of debris. The claim is, and like I said, this is all over the news this morning, and I've seen a ton of articles on the subject, that armed militia groups are hunting FEMA workers. And that comes, of course, from this email that is connected to a response from a forest ranger who got it from a National Guard unit who claims that they came across truckloads of armed men. Yeah. And I'm like, is that really happening? Because it doesn't sound very credible to me. I want to see actual evidence. You're showing me an email. Fourth party? Because National Guard tells, forest worker tells whatever other agency, not FEMA, but some other management agency that they named here, incident management team, who tells FEMA and it leaks out to the news. And I'm like, are there really truckloads of armed men looking for, let's get out there in the trucks and we're going to hunt us some FEMA workers. Yeehaw! I don't see it. I don't see that happening. Sven says it's horseshit. And Kimberly says they've read and seen videos of people trying to help survivors, and FEMA would not let them through certain areas, saying the roads were treacherous. Yeah. And I imagine it is. I mean, you see this photo here, for those of you who are watching, of that's a bridge, and all that debris pressed up against the edges of both sides of the bridge. That river's not flowing. What a mess. Unless that's a highway bridge, but still, that's even worse. Dragon says people claim they still don't see the effects of the lies and misinformation are being purposefully stated and spread. And Monkey says came in right on time to hear that voice. There you go, about hunting FEMA. I know. Yeehaw! Let's round the boys up. Come on, fellers. We's gonna string us up some FEMA guys. Yeehaw! Yippee-ki-yay! I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening, ladies and gentlemen. That doesn't seem realistic to me. I mean, what do you think this is? 1920s and it's bootlegging country. They're trying to protect their stills. Is that what's going on? Helta says, we don't know if these rumors are true or not, but we'll report them anyway. Quote the media. Exactly. And Jericho has joined us. Jericho is joining us just in time to hear about the armed hillbillies protecting their stills in the backwoods of North Carolina, trying to round up them FEMA. Because them FEMA folks, they ain't here for no disaster. They's here a spying on my still, and I is not going to tolerate that. My grandpappy built that still. There you go. There you go. Jericho says he's wearing a FEMA shirt. Let's get him, boys. I know. That's how it should do. Kimberly thinks I do a good hillbilly accent. And that theirs is natural. Well, mine is clearly exaggerated for the purpose of humor. Yeah, I've been told I should do voice acting. I just don't know where to go to do that or how. It's been recommended. I get that from doing a lot of when I used to read to my kids. I used to do it as a dramatic read, and I do all the voices and everything, and I got pretty good at it. But yeah, old Pappy still is in danger, and they don't trust FEMA. Them's federales, they's gonna rip me off. But I don't know how credible that is. I don't know how to take that seriously. And you think that it would have been more of an accurate report if it was a National Guard unit that came across an armed truckloads of men, that would have become a much more serious incident than just an email third or fourth party. Seriously now, guys, what do you take us for? It sounds like an excuse to, I don't know, cause headaches for legitimate militias or gun clubs or any other type of organization like that, or maybe more gun control laws or something. You know what I mean? It sounds like a setup to try to create more red tape and regulation. As we shift gears here, because this is also in the news. I don't know how prominent it is in the news, but it should be. And there's no excuse for it. Fox News article, unknown drone fleet breached U.S. military base airspace in Virginia for 17 straight days. 17 days in a row. A fleet of drones, not a drone, violating a military base in Virginia. And what's being done about it? Good question. A mysterious fleet of drones entering restricted airspace and swarming a U.S. military base along the Virginia coast for 17 days late last year, stumping the Pentagon, according to a new report. So, yeah, they're only just now revealing this. For several nights last December, U.S. military personnel reported witnessing a fleet of unknown unmanned aircraft breach restricted airspace over a stretch of land at Langley Air Force Base along Virginia's shore. And this is a Wall Street Journal report. The drones would start to arrive about 45 minutes to an hour after sunset each night. One official reportedly told U.S. Air Force General Mark Kelly, who joined several other officers responsible for the country's most advanced jet fighters, including F-22 Raptors, on a squadron rooftop. Kelly described the first drone he saw as roughly 20 feet long and flying at more than 100 miles an hour at an altitude of roughly 3,000 to 4,000 feet. As many as a dozen or more drones followed, flying across Chesapeake Bay and then traveling toward Norfolk, Virginia, and through a space overlooking the base for the Navy SEAL Team 6 and Naval Station Norfolk, the world's largest naval port, according to the Journal. That shouldn't have been allowed to happen once, let alone 17 days in a row. Although, speculation, I wonder if that could have been, and I'll freeze that right there. I'll try to freeze it. It's going to make me look at an ad, isn't it? That it's the U.S. government doing it, that it's their drones, kind of like how UFOs back in the day, which you don't hear about UFOs anymore now that everybody's got a camera on their phone. Funny to say, but back in the day, I guarantee you all those UFO sightings, Air Force experimentation. I doubt aliens were coming and going. I don't believe it. League of Smoke says they're lying. The civilians are having to arm themselves to keep FEMA from confiscating donations. And Tuck says, like, share, and subscribe both channels. Thank you, Tuck. And Fluke Man is here. And Tuck says, where's the FAA when you really need them? And these are not civilian drones, obviously. They're much too large to be civilian drones. And I was trying to show the image, but they forced an ad on me here. I'll try to show the image. There's there's a picture. Are those spots drones? Is that what we're supposed to believe? That looks like raindrops. So what are we looking at? These pictures aren't very helpful. But they say a fleet of drones. Do they say how many? Said 20-foot long drones flying 100 miles an hour is not are not like somebody's personal drones. And I wonder if it's some other facet of government that was flying overhead or conducting some kind of experiment, and they just didn't tell the Air Force Base what they were doing. Need to know. Helter says, I'm sure they know who it is. No reason to tell everyone due to national security. And Tuck says, no quad rotor can hit 100 miles an hour. And Monkey says, no aliens as such. He says, I talked once to a retired Air Force flyer that did his time during Korean and Vietnam War, and he says the Area 51 is all prototypes. Yeah, I don't believe for a minute that, I mean, the government owns like, what, 80% of Nevada? I think a lot of people don't realize all that empty Nevada desert, it's all military bases and nuclear disposal sites and stuff out there. The government really kind of owns almost the entire state. There's no aliens out there. It's the Air Force. I don't believe it's alien encounters. But I'm willing to bet that it's some other division of government. It goes on to say 2 months before the drone fleet emerged in Virginia, 5 mysterious drones reportedly breached restricted airspace over a government nuclear weapons experiment site in Nevada. 4 of the drones were detected by the Energy Department's Nevada National Security site outside Las Vegas, while the 5th was spotted by employees, according to the Journal. The facility has reportedly since upgraded its detection system, but officials have not determined who was behind the breach. Something else to keep in mind, is that since it is military and especially a nuclear site, and when you're driving through Georgia and you get to where the nuclear plant is, you can't even slow your vehicle down. If you slow down or you stop on those side roads, they'll come and get you. There's no fooling around at a nuclear power station or at a military base. And if they called that in, hey, we have unidentified drones, they'd have been told to bring them down, and they have systems that can bring drones down. So why weren't they told to do that? Why weren't they told to do that? And Tuck says, imagine how much fentanyl a 20-foot-long UAV could carry. Good Lord. And heaven is my domicile, said excellent observation about Nevada. Yeah, it's all military. The government owns the whole state practically, which is probably why it's the only place in the U.S. that prostitution is legal. Jericho says there are competition drones that can hit up to 200 miles an hour, one of which is used to track Formula One races. It's possible to hit 100 or more with a drone. Fluke Man says, talking about jet fighters, why are the nations offering F-16s for Ukraine when stealth fighters and counter-stealth technologies have existed for years or even decades? Well, because you donate away the older stuff that you don't need anymore, let them use it up in a war that could have been over more than a year ago, and then you roll out the new stuff and keep it. And Cyberjack Sr. has joined us. Thanks for coming in today. Glad you could make it. And let me see. I want to get to this. I had done a short over the weekend. Some of you might have seen it on Coffee Talk, and it was in a value village, and there was 3 women with baby carriages. Who saw this short? 3 women in there with baby carriages, right? Older women. There were not babies. These were what do they call them? Real babies. I forget the term for it. A reborn doll, right? I think it's a reborn, they call it. You know how like they have, what is it? A real doll? Is that what they call it? It's supposed to be like a sex toy, but it looks like an actual woman, right? And there's a reborn doll also, and it looks like an actual like newborn or infant. Okay. So these 3 women have these dolls. And so I did a short and I was like, hey, look, these 3 women with the baby carriages, they're not babies. They're dolls. And I just put it out there to see what people's thoughts were about that. Yeah, Kimberly says it's reborn. Okay. They were buying toys and baby clothes. And although I did not do any additional filming, they sure as hell did put those dolls into car seats and fold up the strollers and put them away, different vehicles. So they must be in some club for this. I'm assuming. Dragon says, I hear people say these women are shoplifters. They use the stroller like a shopping cart. Some people do use strollers as a shoplifting device. That is true. But these women had real babies. And I'll pull this up because I want to talk about that a little bit. Those are reborn dolls, okay? And this is, whose article is this? CNN article here, okay? All people saw the doll short. Kimberly says you can send it a baby picture and have a doll made to look like the baby in the picture. It would be quite a bit of a task to use something like this for shoplifting, because these dolls can run into the thousands depending upon who sculpted them and how lifelike they are. Because I looked into this. They are extremely expensive. I wouldn't spend like $3,000 on a simulated infant to shoplift from Value Village. You see my point? It doesn't make sense. These women have a problem. A CNN article, it says these lifelike dolls are helping women heal. This is what the claim is here. The first time, all right, there, okay, the first time Carolina held a reborn doll, she was amazed at how lifelike it was. It not only looked like a newborn baby, but it felt like one too. It was as heavy as a baby should be. She had to support its neck like a baby. It even smelled like a baby. My mind was blown. Seriously, said John Bierko, a photographer based in Portland. It really feels real. Okay. These dolls, crafted by artists around the world, can cost hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars. They're made of vinyl or silicone, and their realistic features can include veins, pores, tears, and saliva. Some even have systems that mimic breathing and a beating heart. And here's a picture of a woman who has a psychosis, I suppose, with one of these dolls in a carriage from behind. This is Katerina, and they don't want to show you her face, I guess, so that you won't pick on her. It says most of the people who own these dolls are collectors, but for some, John Derko said the dolls appear to provide therapeutic benefits as she started her photo project for Reborn. Okay, now what's being suggested and what I've seen of this is that they consider it a form of therapy for some women who either are not able to have a child or might have lost a child. That's what's being suggested in every article I've seen on the subject. All People says there was a UK grandma who had a reborn made to look like her toddler grandson when his family moved to Australia. She paid thousands. Tuck says it sounds insane. And I'm going to agree with that. This is pandering to a mental illness. A woman, I can't tell you what it's like to carry a baby and lose one. I can tell you what it's like to lose a child because I was with a woman who was pregnant that lost a child. And that hurts. Even me, it hurts. And I'm not the one carrying the baby. That was heartbreaking. But you've got to learn to cope and move on. This is a crutch. How many years are we going to be carrying around an imitation baby and changing its diaper and feeding it and taking it around to stores and strollers and buying it baby clothes? When you lean on a crutch that hard, you become it's mentally debilitating. All People says another woman had battery-operated breathing, heartbeat, and cooing, crying, and even potty functions. Cost thousands. Monkey says, honestly, those dolls ideally would be great for training new parents or people about to be parents. That's a good point. Learn how to take care of, but I feel in reality it can be used maliciously, as you said, pandering. And Brian says, another day for mentally ill psychos. Kimberly says, I would think it would trap you in the psychosis. You could never move on. Exactly. I think it's debilitating. I think that's a really bad idea. And it's another example of the Western world celebrating mental illness. Instead of these people becoming, coping, learning to get over it. Okay, yeah, you had a terrible loss, and I can't tell you what to do or how to feel, but you've got to learn to move on. You've got to learn to move on. You've got to learn to cope, or else you're trapped. You put the blinders on and you'll stay there forever. And I think someone had made in the comment section something about that at least, we don't have to pay for it. Are you sure? Because if it could be determined that they're mentally ill, they can collect SSI. There was a guy on My Strange Addiction, addicted to Christmas. I don't know if anyone ever saw this. You could look it up. He lives in the UK. He's on public assistance because he's convinced it's Christmas every day. And so his whole house is filled with Christmas trees and Christmas decorations. And every day he goes out and buys himself a present and wraps it and randomly mixes them up so he doesn't remember which is which, and opens a present from under the tree every day and cooks a whole big Christmas dinner every day, turkey and all, on the taxpayer's expense. So don't be too sure you're not paying for it. All People says Bruce Jenner became a woman by wearing a dress, and these women became mothers by carrying a doll. Pretty much. And again, these women were not young. They were not young. One of them easily was in her 50s, maybe her late 50s. And they've formed a club. They're supporting each other. I guess, in this club, or else the three of them wouldn't have been out there together. And I meant to look up if there were any reborn clubs. I'm willing to bet there are. All People goes on to say there is a YouTube video of a German woman who uses reborns to cope with the abuse she suffered as a child because she's afraid to become an actual mother, so she hugs. Oh, so her husband bought her dolls. I see. The German woman reborns or multiple life stages from newborn to toddler, and they have a variety of battery-operated functions. That's just bizarre. Dragon says it's a literal coping mechanism. These businesses are indulging these bereft women, in their delusions. And Kimberly says, I will now be addicted to Christmas. Yeah, where's my I want a Christmas present every day. Shit. Where's my Christmas present? I'll probably get cat food. And hey, that's okay. That's okay. I'm willing to bet that there's some kind of a support group or club that they're associated with because people look at them sideways. And now there's that stigma that they have to deal with. People just don't understand that the baby, she's real to me. Yeah, that's the problem, though. And it's not healthy. It's not healthy for them. Helter says, why haven't these women considered adoption? Adoption's very difficult. I can understand that. It's very difficult and extremely expensive, which is why a lot of times people try to adopt from overseas because they tell you that you can't sell a baby in the United States. The government is selling you the baby, and they don't want people cutting in on their take because you'll spend tens of thousands of dollars in paperwork to make an adoption. And God forbid you want an infant, newborn, or even a toddler. They want you. The foster system will find you somebody, but it's going to be some late adolescent or teenager with severe problems. Again, I have fostered, and I have a fostering certificate when I was from when I was in Kansas. Oh man, the kids that they got. You want somebody to murder your pets or burn your house down, that's the way to go. Kimberly says there are doll clubs. I'm sure that Reborn has a club. Yes. And All People says thousands of Reborn clubs and support groups around the world, I'm sure. And League says, I love the fact that instead of curing people, we're encouraging them to be mentally ill. And that's what I was saying. In the Western society, you celebrate mental illness. So, I mean, this is just another facet of that, but you can come up with a dozen examples off the top of your head of mental illness being showcased in society over the last couple of decades in the Western world. Easily. I don't have to name it and get in trouble with the algorithm on ScrewTube. You already know. You already know who and what they are. All of you are aware. Kimberly says some employers offer adoption benefits. And also you can deduct part of the cost on your tax return. It won't be that great. It won't be that great. It's very hard. And they know what they got. They know the good stuff. Everybody wants an infant or a toddler because the older the child gets, the more problems there are. The more problems there are, the more they've been mishandled by the system or by foster parents who are just looking for a check or, whatever. It gets worse and worse and worse as it goes on. But yeah, so I could see instead, when the toss up is, do I want to spend like $30,000-$40,000 worth of paperwork, which is total horsepucky, or do I want to get this Reborn doll for a couple of $1,000s and just pretend it's real? Just pretend that it's real. Then probably it's a lot cheaper and easier to just get a fake baby. And Kimberly says where are we here? The waiting list for babies is astronomical. Yeah, because everybody wants a baby. And All People says reborns started out as therapy dolls and are now both collection items and toys for regular women that do not need or want therapy. German, UK, and Japanese women admitted to feeling as if the reborns were real babies after having them for so long. And here's Semper Fi joining us. Been off-grid camping for 2 weeks. Good. Good. There you go. As we move around here, we're going to talk about the man's man. The man's man. He's a really manly man. He's a lumberjack, and he's okay. Tim Waltz. Tim Waltz, everybody. The manly man, the man's man candidate. You remember us reading that story a few weeks back that he was the man's man candidate. He's a manly man. He's rugged. He's a rugged outdoorsman. Not so much. Not so much, apparently. I got a kick out of this article. This is New York Post. Tim Waltz roasted over appearing to struggle to load a shotgun at a hunting event. So much for being a military badass. And I don't know if you've seen the footage from this. I looked at the video clip. It really doesn't show you much. He was not able to load his shotgun. He couldn't figure it out. But he's supposed to be a backwoodsman and a hunter, remember? There you go. Everybody is throwing it in there. There's M. Young and All People tampon, hashtag tampon 10. Oh my God. Man couldn't load the shotgun and they got it on film. Although it's not shown on this video clip. He's just kind of walking around looking confused. Because this is it's the annual Minnesota pheasant hunt. And so he took the opportunity for a photo shoot, basically. I don't know if he's ever done this before in life. I have no idea. But he took this as a photo op, and you would think that he would have had someone walk him through what to do before he went out. And he might have had someone walk him through and maybe couldn't remember, but the cameras were already rolling and he was kind of screwed. JJ says the lumberjack song may be appropriate for Waltz as he may put on women's clothing and hang around in bars. Oh my. And drink horse semen. Cruising says, wow, and shotguns are considered the idiot-proof weapon. They're pretty simple, actually. Even the semi-automatic ones are fairly simple to operate. And Kimberly wants to know, didn't I see a picture of Tim in a dress and full makeup? I don't know. Tuck says this was really pathetic. There's videos of kids using that same shotgun just fine. He looks like he's trying to load a 12 gauge into a 20 gauge. And Semper says just listening to Walt speak makes my IQ level drop. And then one more, Helter says the other hunters are in more danger than any of the birds. I know. And he's walking around with the rifle pointed straight up. I noticed that also. If it's and he's not holding the traditional fashion. It's supposed to be slung facing down, isn't it? I mean, not slung, but isn't he supposed to have the barrel pointed down when he's out like that? And it says Democratic VP hopeful Tim Waltz tried to showcase his hyped up firearm skills at a hunting event Saturday, but detractors quickly seized on his apparent struggles to load a Beretta A400. Clad in an orange vest and chaps while tramping through straw-like high grass, Waltz participated in the 3-hour annual Minnesota Governor's Pheasant Hunting Opener near Sleepy Eye, Minnesota, but didn't bag any birds. They didn't have anybody out there hiding in the grass with pheasants already in a cage to release them so he could pretend to shoot them? Somebody's not doing their job. Footage posted on social media during the hunting expedition showed Waltz hunched over and adjusting his Beretta while complaining that something never fits quite right, and noted that it was designed to help mitigate pressure on the shoulders. Since ascending to the vice presidential nomination, Waltz has boasted about hunting prowess, taunting GOP candidate J.D. Vance by saying, "I guarantee you he can't shoot pheasants like I can." No, Vance can probably actually do it. Waltz has also crowed about being one of the best shots during his previous tenure as representative in Congress. God, that's like Biden bragging about how great his golf scores are. The Harris-Waltz campaign has promoted the fact that both the Minnesota governor and vice president turned Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris are gun owners while seeking to fend off GOP criticism of their support for gun control. Harris claims to own a Glock. What kind of Glock, Harris? Or is it just a Glock? And says that she has fired it at a gun range. Okay. The campaign launched the coalition groups Hunters and Anglers for Harris-Waltz last week. Oh my God. And has sold off camouflage hats in a bid to appeal to rural America. Oh my goodness. I don't know what to say. Allies of the camp or former President Trump quickly mocked Waltz on X over his Saturday hunting excursion, chiding that he looked like a neophyte with the Beretta, which costs around $2,159. Glock enthusiast Kamala Harris needs to teach Tim Waltz how to load his gun. I thought they would have the footage of him fumbling with that shotgun, because that was pretty bad. I'll see if I can find it later. Let me catch up a couple more here. Helter says the other hunters are in more danger than... Oh, I read that. Monkey says I was seeing Waltz compared to Elmer Fudd. Dragon says people are wise enough not to stand in front of him while he carries a loaded weapon. And Kimberly says, yes, it should be pointed down. All People says, couldn't Tim have at least watched a video beforehand in order to learn the steps? Like I said, somebody out there, like you see the other person in this shot, obviously has an earpiece in. I'm guessing that's a Secret Service agent. Okay? Because you see the antenna behind his ear. The guy with the sunglasses there behind Tim. They could have walked him through what to do before he went out there, but that doesn't mean he's going to remember or listen. He's not going to remember or listen, but he couldn't do it. He was holding the gun face up with the butt in his crotch and struggling to put the shells into the breech. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. And Nature Nerd says we used to have badass presidents that went on safari hunting expeditions. No kidding. And Tuck says I used a YouTube video to assemble a stripped lower. And Cruising, oh, hold on, says I feel like Dick Cheney left behind a how-to video for Timmy. Yeah, Dick Cheney did leave a video behind. Or actually, Dick Cheney left no evidence. Monkey says neophyte, in case some don't know, means a new person to a subject or thing. So it looked like Waltz was new to loading the shotgun. There you go. There you go. Thanks for the clarification. But yeah, I was hoping to see actual footage of him struggling to load the shotgun. Let me see. Maybe there's something that I can pull up real quick here. Is this the maybe this will work. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to grab a video here. If I can't, I'll just hang it up. Okay, here we go. I found a clip, and I'm going to throw this up really quickly here so that you can see this. It's only a 20-second clip. It's not much. It's not much. And I'll leave the audio off. I'll leave the audio off. So here we go. You see how he's holding it. It's all jammed into his crotch. And he's rolling it in what, I don't know what the hell he's doing. That looks really, And now he's complaining about the butt of the rifle. Did you catch that? That's pretty bad. So he's holding it in his crotch. Do you really want to hold that in your crotch in case you accidentally discharge the shotgun? Maybe he's not worried about anything there being damaged. Just speculation. Just speculation. Or maybe he's got great big iron cojones from all the horse semen that he guzzles down. Because you know, I can't help it. I've got them horse testicles. Okay, Waltz, calm down. And we're going to jump to the dock workers strike. Cruising says he's a male Democrat and a feminist. He's probably into nut busting. Oh, yeah, but not his own. And Monkey says also at the vice presidential debate, Waltz looks like Principal McVicker from Beavis and Butthead with his face as he was making. That's a good analogy because he does. He looks so scared and confused. He really did. He looked terrified in the debate. It was crazy. And Kimberly says, I think the first observation was correct. Yeah. And didn't catch a pheasant. Didn't catch a pheasant at all. And I told you, they should have had, I mean, even when they used to go out in the hunting parties in the UK, because that was a thing, we're going to go or quail hunting, right? They had them in cages and they would release them. You know, the clay pigeons, they used to release actual quail to fly away so that they could shoot with the shotguns and the dogs would run out and get them. And they had them in cages and they had a long cord that they would pull so no one would be downrange. You couldn't have done that. Someone couldn't have hidden the grass with a rope or a cord and released a couple of birds, and he could shoot and miss, and then they could bring him a dead one anyway, and he could pretend, look, I shot me a bird. Nature Nerd says, I feel like the dock workers lost their leverage with the shortest strike ever. And one more in here from Fluke Man. He says, in the 90s, they used fake babies for Planned Parenthood. Oh, God. The babies are set to cry randomly anytime during the day. It's a good practice, but this is crazy. Charging batteries, refill water for saliva, and so on. Yeah, talking about the previous subject. Alternate article. Documents show lavish spending on pay and benefits for the officials of the dock workers union. The 3-day dock workers strike that threatened to stall American economy was a dramatic victory for 45,000 East Coast longshoremen. That is until their jobs are replaced by robots, who now stand to collect 60% pay hikes by 2030. The tentative deal between maritime shippers and the International Longshoremen's Association lifts top pay to $45 an hour next year for laborers on the New York City, Jersey docks, and at more than 30 other ports from Maine to Texas. At that rate, dock workers putting in a 40-hour week would make up to $93,600 a year. And we already read this before the pay hike. A lot of them were making as much as $200,000 a year. So I don't know where these numbers are coming from, unless they're just talking about the lowest paid employees at the docks. Yet even with the substantial increase, pay for rank and file union members will lag far behind compensation for a cadre of International Longshoremen Association executives who make hundreds of thousands a year while enjoying lush travel and entertainment benefits that include New York Yankees tickets, limousine services, and memberships at the New York Athletics Club. In 2023 alone, 30 top executives with the union classified under its headquarters in North Bergen, including 25 vice presidents. How many vice presidents do you need? 25 vice presidents with annual pays reaching $554,000 each. were paid more than $9 million in salaries and other compensation, according to the U.S. Department of Labor reports. The report shows that several top union officials are paid for holding multiple executive positions simultaneously, including high-paying posts as emeriti for past services in union locals. Many family members of leading executives have found a place in ILA's payroll, which last year was funded by $38 million in union member dues and other fees. I'm going to reiterate that. Family members of leading executives earning $38 million in union member dues from union member dues and other fees. That is direct nepotism, and they know it. The union last year even employed a former member who served prison time after federal fraud convictions. ILA President Harold Daggett, a friend and political ally of Governor Phil Murray, New Jersey, received more than $855,261 in compensation last year for his leadership duties. The federal filings show Daggett was paid an additional $194,155 as President Emeritus of ILA Local 1804-1, that is. Daggett's son, Dennis, is also paid an additional $785,877 last year for dual leadership roles of Local 1804 President and ILA Executive Vice President. Was paid an additional $642,631 for two executive positions as Vice President in the ILA, and his daughter, Lisa Daggett Bess, earns an additional $210,383 as a political affairs director, and so on, and so on, and so on. These numbers just keep going. Here's another one, 200,000, another one, 250,352. Jesus. Yeah, you wonder why the dock workers aren't making any money. Here it is. Here it is. Cruising says, I don't even get paid for working for my union. I'm doing something wrong. Yeah, you need to be ripping off union members, not being in a union. The real money is in fleecing union workers for their dues. Nature Nerd says, have you heard the union workers have shipping container royalty fees and don't even work at the docks anymore? No, I have not heard that. Monkey says, watch the dues increase. Exactly. Because the dues will go up. If there's a pay increase, the fees will increase as well. And then the leadership will be able to pay themselves more. All People says unions are mafia, only far less honest. Yeah, at least the mafia have a code. There is no more mafia. It's guys like this, and it's corrupt politicians. That's sickening. So originally they said that Daggett was making $901,000 a year, but it looks like he's making a hell of a lot more than that. They said here $855,261 plus $194,155. That's well over $1 million. And then his son getting $785,000 from one job and $642,000 from another job. So the son's making even more money, and then his daughter is tapped into this too, and that's nepotism, which should not be allowed. That should not be allowed. This is that's disheartening, and that's those people's money. And I guarantee you that when they need something, some dock worker gets crushed, and the family needs money for a funeral. Oh, well, there's no money in the funeral fund, but you know, them guys at that corporation, they're the ones that need to pay that. They're your real enemy. Yeah. They're the real enemy. Good Lord. Good Lord. And how many articles have I read, even over the past year, of corrupt union executives getting caught stealing money from the union accounts? It's really kind of disgusting, actually. The unions, I can't see where they're any benefit anymore. I understand why they were formed, and they did what needed to be done at the time. Do they still serve a function other than to create division between the company and the workers and to basically rip the workers off? Legend says, sorry I'm late, took the week off to help the dog recover. Oh, your dog had surgery? How's he doing? And Nature Nerd says, dock union leaders have giant mansions. That's correct. And we showed Daggett's mansion. 5-car garage, outdoor pizza oven, outdoor sauna, a massive, massive building, massive structure. It's on 10 acres of land in New Jersey. It's worth millions. It's worth millions. How the hell did he afford that? How did he afford that? That hurts my feelings, actually. But don't worry. All those workers, they'll get replaced. They'll get replaced by robots. The robots, the technology is already out there. It's just a matter of buying the equipment and rolling it out. And I'm sure you all heard about this now. I'm sure you all heard about this now. And this is an article from The Verge. And it's about Tesla, the Optimus bot. Tesla's Optimus bot makes a scene at the robot taxi event. Optimus robots walked out into the crowd after the new RoboVan reveal. So they showed the RoboVan, okay, which is fine. It's basically a driverless vehicle. Then the robots came out because he's ready to run them off the assembly line now. They're ready. A bunch of Tesla humanoid Optimus robots walked out alongside the reveal of Tesla's new RoboVan vehicle at tonight's Cybercab event. The robot is also seen in a video doing daily human tasks like bringing in a package from the porch, watering plants. The Optimus will walk amongst you, Tesla CEO Elon Musk says. You'll be able to walk right up to them and they will serve drinks. Musk explains it can basically do anything and mentions examples like walking your dog, babysitting the kids, mowing the lawn. He says it'll cost between $20,000 to $30,000 per unit. Quote, I think it will be the biggest product ever of any kind, Musk says. After the presentation, live stream footage showed people interacting, and here's a video clip of it operating as a bartender running the tap behind the bar. The robot there wearing the cowboy hat. After the presentation, live stream footage showed people interacting with Optimus robots at tables and in crowds. The robots weren't doing much other than waving in the style of Astrobot. There was a table of drinks. Optimus bot was not seen doing more than holding a cup of ice. However, one bot could hand over small gift bags at another table and play rock, paper, scissors with guests. They're keeping it low key. Basically, it can do menial tasks, is what he's suggesting. It'll sweep the floor. It'll answer the door for you. It'll get a package off the porch. He had mentioned it can push a lawnmower, stuff like this. Babysit the kids while you're out on a date, things like this. Legend says had to get her spayed since that was the deal I made with the previous owner. I see. Kimberly says the unions were a good thing back in the day, not so much anymore. Ours, when I worked for a big communications company, was practically useless. Same experience I've had. You guys have heard me go on about my union experiences before. Nature Nerd says, how much more automated are the European and Asian docks? I heard they are more efficient and more goods go through those docks than American docks due to the union's resistance against technology. Yeah, they're fighting it because they know they can be replaced. And that they, with the docks, the technology doesn't start at the bottom. Like Flippy, the robot that flips burgers, or the fry robot that operates the French fry pits in or the fryers in restaurants. With the docks, they actually work their way from the highest level backwards. So the biggest jobs can be done by robots, crane operation, and the loading of shipping containers can be done by a robot instead of a crew. Tuck says there'll be 2 guys per shift running robots that replace an entire port crew. They don't sleep, celebrate holidays, or need overtime or sick days. They don't strike. Yeah, and on and on. They don't need benefits. They don't need medical. Kimberly says those kids will deactivate that bot and go wild. Maybe. But I mean, if it can do basic domestic things in your home, then I mean, that's another job gone. And to be honest with you, I'd rather have one of those babysitting the kid than a person, based on my own experience. You know, some of you know the story about me with babysitting. My mother used to take babysitting contracts and then refuse to watch the kids and force me to do it. And then she would rifle through their house, searching the drawers, searching closets. Babysitters steal from you. They lie. And sometimes they don't watch the kids. They make someone else do it, like what happened to me. Nature Nerd says the problem with drones is the batteries suck. I had a drone that only could fly for 10 minutes before charging the batteries. Yeah, I don't know what the batteries in these things look like. But it is a big deal. We're getting closer. And yeah, they cost 20 to 30,000, but I bet you there'll be a rent to own program. Brian says that was one of the earliest videos. Yeah, talking about my mother and her babysitting contracts. God. You forced me to take that contract. I don't like watching kids. You know I hate babies. And I'm like, what the hell did I do? I didn't say a word. And then I get stuck watching the kid, and she gets to collect the money. Plus, she gets to go through everybody's dresser drawers and closets and steal whatever she can find. Which, of course, you know, eventually I'll get blamed for. M. Young says my kids would be reprogramming the robot or they'd break it. I don't know. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, if they can do basic menial labor tasks, and we've looked at a lot of that. We looked at a lot of robots on this channel. Robots that can sanitize bathrooms, robots that can vacuum floors, do most of the basics in a hotel room so that the hotel staff, the maid, is only changing the bed sheets, for example, and taking the trash. Oh, that robot took the trash out too, didn't it, in that one video? I showed the robot that works in the hotel room, I'm pretty sure. The robot that puts up the drywall, the robot that does interior and exterior house painting. Those jobs are going away. Cruising says robots that replace laborers will probably have power grid connections, while domestic ones would be battery powered for the aftermarket buys of replacement battery packs like Roomba. And we've seen those also with Amazon, because they have humanoid type robots at Amazon that they're experimenting with in certain of their facilities that walk back and forth and carry boxes. And when it needs a charge, it goes and plugs itself in. We showed video clips of that a couple of months ago. Nature Nerd says, how about if you own the drone and you get royalties from every package that the drone delivers? I don't know. And there's D-Lo. He's late. How you doing, D-Lo? Glad you could make it today. Late or not. Late or not. No felines. I still have no cats. I'm sorry. There's no cats in the room, ladies and gentlemen. No cats in the room. They've left me alone again today. I'm going to have a stern talk with my feline friends. But yeah, there's a lot of robots, a lot of technology out there fit to replace a lot of menial labor task jobs. But again, in the case of the docks, the jobs start top tier and work their way backwards. They were very smart about how they looked into robotic replacements for the docks. Then you got just the cheap guys working on the lower levels. H12 says they could use a pair of strong arms. I don't know how strong these things are versus an actual healthy person, but you know, Nature Nerd says a car delivering a whole package route is still more efficient than one drone delivering one package. That's true. But with that, we are at the top of the hour, so I will go ahead and start signing off. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat, and you can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. So thank you, everybody, for joining us here today. As always, hope you got something out